Bethany Manctelo here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Hello everybody and welcome to the final show of 2024 for the Millwall No One Likes Us Talking's, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robertson, Jeff Burnige and George Lampey.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Well, evening everybody. And on Monday, David Livermore was placed in temporary charge of Millwall's first team after Neil Harris stepped down as head coach. The 44-year-old, who served as Harris's assistant at nearly every club he's managed, will take charge of Millwall under a permanent head coach once it's appointed. First team coach Adam Barrett, goalkeeper coach Andy Marshall, and under-21 boss Kevin Nugent will be supporting David Livermore during the interim period, and he's spoken with Steve Gallen and James Berylson. They asked him to step in, and he said he would. The duration of Livermore's undertaking of the role isn't known, and he's told Gallen and Berylson that he's prepared to do it for as long as they need him to do until they find the next head coach. Well, who will it be? Gary O'Neill is out the running, and so is Stephen Bradley when he was tipped around for it. Well, he's playing Chelsea tonight, so I'm not sure he would want to come to Millwall. He's in Europe. But anyway, we'll take a break there, though, and hear about our sponsor, G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned marque. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julian's here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 81 3562. G&M Motors have been dear friends with the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Jess and the Gay family and all at G&M Motors.
Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors. Why not check the Hondas out and see what else they have on site at Gravesend? Welcome to George, Jeff and Ted. How are we?
I'm well, thanks. Yeah, Myles, I'm well.
Good. Jeff, starting with you then. Were you saddened by the departure of a man that you've known since he arrived at Millwall as a player?
I was devastated. I really, really believe in Neil. He's a class act, and the one quality that I want in a Millwall manager or head coach, whatever it's called, leadership. And I think Neil is an outstanding leader of men. I don't think there'll be a club that he's ever at where there isn't a really good united feel amongst the squad. The other thing I like about Neil is when he has left, he's never spilt the beans and had a moan and blamed anybody and never done any finger pointing. What's he said this time? Oh, I just think now's the right time. If you remember at the Coventry game, it was noticeable he hardly ever got off the bench, did he, to do his usual stuff on the touchline. And that was the day that he had the rather intemperate press conference that came after that. So there's no way that his remarks that in that press conference got anything to do with his departure, because clearly mentally gone during that game, if not a week or two before. I'm devastated, but clearly Neil had never been a head coach. He's always been a manager. He's a club builder. And the chairman, who we have to back, he's earned our total support with what he's done and what his father did. He wants this different model with a director of football. It's not an unheard of model. It's quite common at top level in the main European leagues, but I'm told that it's actually beginning to be out of fashion in those top level clubs. So I can't give any evidence of that, but that's what I've been told. But clearly this was a model that Neil was uncomfortable with, and sooner or later this was going to come to a head. And I suppose with the impending transfer window opening, perhaps discussions have been held between the chairman and the director of football, Steve Gallen, and Neil, and that brought it to a head. It is a model that the chairman had wanted, because he named Neil as head coach back in February, which I did notice at the time. So, look, we have to move on now. One thing I would say is that when you do have a director of football who's less experienced than the manager, there is a potential problem there. And if the director of football signings are not in the team, there's a definite potential problem there. But I'll tell you what I have done. I'd like to say that I've got great faith in Dave Livermore and Adam Barrett and Kevin Nugent and Andy Marshall. I think they'll do a good job. It wouldn't surprise me if they do better than a good job, because I do believe the squad's not bad at all. We're playing a very good team this coming week, which we'll talk about a bit later. But I'm really behind Dave Livermore and the rest of the staff, and I have a feeling they're going to do well. Let's hope so.
Let's hope so indeed, Jeff. Ted, thinking back to Neil Harris's final game then as manager. Well, I say final game. We heard that one before, didn't we? But what did you make of the Middlesbrough game itself?
Well, you can sum the Middlesbrough game up quite quickly, Myles, because at the end of the day, it was about 3 one-on-ones. We had 2 and missed them. They had 1 and scored. And basically, that was the game in a nutshell, to be quite honest. It was... again, a little bit of a towel for ourselves of not taking the chances when they come our way. And that was it, really, with Middlesbrough. What I'd like to say about Neil Harris as well, I mean, there's people know I'm a great fan of Neil's, but what I would say is you cannot have a situation which is obviously developed where the chairman of a club, the director of football at a club, and the manager of a club are not pulling in the same direction. They're not going in the same way. And if there is an argument across that sort of thing, there's only going to be one winner out of that, and that is going to be the chairman. What I will say is the big difference with James Berylson compared to John is James Berylson is bringing his ideas to the table and asking the club to run that way, whereas John seemed to really say to the people, go out and run it for me, which is a massive difference. And I sort of understand what Jeff's saying in the sense that this model doesn't always work. They tried it once with Joe Edwards, it didn't work. Neil came in and Jeff summed him up perfectly. He's a great leader. His strength is sometimes his weakness because he's a stubborn guy. He believes in what he believes and he won't change his mind from anything else. But I just tend to think that's what makes good leaders to a certain extent. But the bottom line was, whilst I was a bit surprised at the timing of when it happened, I wasn't shocked because I think it's possibly been on the cards for a while. Because you can't, I say, it's all, everybody's got to pull in the same direction. They've all got to be going and working under the same theory. That's why John Berylson was such a good chairman, because it always seemed to be like that. But James obviously has a clear idea of where he wants the football club to go. It didn't work the first time round. Maybe they might be a little less in a form of having a little gamble on someone who's got no experience this time round? I hope so, because I genuinely believe that whoever manages in the Championship needs to have a bit of experience in there. So I echo what Jeff said. We got some good players, yeah. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dave Livermore, who was quite a good manager before he sort of become Neil's number 2, if I remember right. I think it was someone like Hitchin or someone like that in a non-league that he dragged up from the hills, and they was winning a lot of games. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dave Livermore does a very good job. But I think they're probably that far down the route now of trying to get a new person in that Dave Livermore won't be that person. But look, whoever comes in, regardless of what's happened with Neil, I bow down to Neil and praise him like I did as a player. He's been a fantastic manager for us. I wouldn't write him off coming back again. But like every manager that comes through our door, you have to get behind them and give them the opportunity to do what they can do. And at the end of the day, and it's not unbelievable at this moment in time, if we were to all of a sudden turn it around and finish up in the playoffs come this time in May next year, I don't think too many of us will be thinking about Neil Harris then. But let's see what happens. But it was just something that I think, it had to be done, unfortunately. And I do say that with a little bit of a sad heart, to be quite honest, because I've got such admiration for Neil. But listen, quickly back to Middlesbrough. It weren't a bad performance. We should have won. We didn't win. Unfortunately, that's been a little bit too often in this season so far. But I'm expecting a good game this Saturday. I know we'll talk about it later, but I've got a feeling that they might just come out fighting on Saturday. But yeah, disappointing Saturday, because I would love to have been a win in Neil's last game. But case or we move on and we go on to the next game.
Exactly. Just to echo a little bit what you said at the beginning about the 3 one-on-ones, and we had 2, missed them. They had 1, scored it. I think Neil Harris summed that up perfectly in his post-match press conference, didn't he? Because he said, post-match interview, with the club. He said we had 3. It's always been a problem at the club where we just can't finish. He said that was under Joe and Gary Rowett as well, and I agree with that. But George.
Oh, sorry, Miles. I was just saying quickly, it's strange when you see someone like Macaulay Langstaff who put them chances away for fun. Somebody said to me the goalkeeper's a different level and all that. Yeah, but for a striker at that level, he's good enough to do that. And it was a poor miss. Keepers take credit for that. But then Femi Aziz's done the same thing. So Neil's right. It's been going on for a long while, and let's hope it changes soon.
I'd like to come back on that, Miles. Yeah, there were 3 one-on-ones in the game, but they were all identical. It's just that all 3 of them hit the goalkeeper, but the Middlesbrough one hit the goalkeeper between the legs and went in. Fine margins. The one that no one mentions, in the very first minute, Femi Aziz hits a shot, like a sideways volley, if you know what I mean. He's hit the defender in the face. It was going in. That was in the first minute.
Yeah.
So I think to saying that was bad finishing by Langstaff and Aziz, I think the margins are so fine. If you get put through one-on-one and your shot hits the keeper, that happens an awful lot. Doesn't make them bad finishers. But I'm glad that Ted agrees that Livers has got a chance of doing well. Let's hope so. It'd be great, wouldn't it?
It would. George, we'll bring you in then. The head coach selection race is on. What skills, knowledge and understanding of the football club do you think the new Millwall head coach will need?
Well, that's a question and a half, isn't it? I mean, I think a new coach. You, George. I mean, we've had the youngster in Edwards, and I'm not sure. I think we are much more of an established championship team. So I would think maybe a manager with knowledge of understanding of the championship. But maybe my biggest concern is what the 2 boys have actually brought up all the way along in their conversations, is the system that we use now. Now, I don't have a problem with that system, as long as your chief executive, or whoever he is, or your director of football, is getting you good quality players. Now, this is going to be a little bit controversial. I think some of the people that we've signed, at the moment, they may get better, but at the moment, I don't think they are up to standard. And I think that played a part in Neil's judgment of what he was seeing going on. So although I think the system can be flawed, I think whoever takes this role on has really got to bed in with, especially Gallen, and they have to work as a real team, because otherwise it will just fall apart a little bit, like with Neil. And I understand. I'm with the boys. I love Neil to bits and always have done. But I understand why he's gone, and I think so. You're looking at a champion, a guy who understands the championship. I think a manager that has to be strong, because this system has no, it can't have weak links to it. If you're a weak manager with this system, it's going to bite you. So I don't know what the boys think about that. Am I talking nonsense, guys?
I'll come back a little bit there, Myles, if you don't mind. The thing I'd say, George, you talk about the players that like Gallen's brought in. Kelly is a Scotland under-21 international. Celtic didn't want him to go. There was quite a few other teams going after him. We got him. Ivanovic is a 19-year-old who's in the Serbian senior squad. So they're young players. They may well need a bit of time, because if you can look at Esse this season compared to last season, he's a different player, because he's had the experience of playing in the first team, in my opinion. Amaku, I've got to mention Amaku, because I don't know what Neil was doing with him, and I don't know what happened, but all I do know is that when he's come on in the last 3 games, and we've come on and we look like we might not go anywhere with it, he's changed the game. His pace has frightened the hell out of teams that we've come up against. Now, you're right, he's a 21-year-old, but why was he so long on the bench? Because the guy could have came on for half hour, and he was bringing him on for 15 minutes or at the end. So I'm not really getting what you're saying about the players that Gallen's signing, because at their age...
Well, yeah, but if they're young, Ted, as you said, they are young.
They're quality players at their age groups.
Well, they are, but they're young for the championship, and I think you're perfectly right. I think they all might have a really good future ahead of them, but I think as of right now, it might be a little bit early for them, and I think Neil was seeing that, and then he has to look at where else he's got to go, and I don't think Neil had a lot of other places to go.
But what I'm saying, when is the right time to bring these players in? How much? That is always going to be a controversial question to whoever's running the side. And what I mean by that, the person that's picking the team, I get that and I understand that. But at the end of the day, you're saying they're not quality players, but
I'm not saying they're not quality players. I'm saying it's a little bit early.
Irish under 21 international, isn't he? Knocking on the door of the Irish team. And all I'm saying is, looking at the amount of game time that them 3 players that I've mentioned have had, they've not really had much. Look, Neil sees them day in, day out. I'll get that as well. But what I'm saying is they do appear to be players with quite a lot of potential. And I'm not sure that we've seen enough of them yet to make any real judgment.
And I think that's the problem, the potential. It's not there at the moment. It may well come in another season, as you said, with Esse, but I don't think it's there at the moment. And so you're going to have to nurture that.
But if the game plan is, not the game plan, what they call it, what Belson wants from the top down, he wants to get young players in, get them to their potential and sell them on, a bit like, as people keep saying to me, the Brentford mould, if you know what I mean, how they've got to where they've done. They brought players in, they bought them at small amounts of money, developed them and sold them for bigger money. If that's what you're going to do, it does take a bit of time. There's no doubt about that. Jeff, who I know is a big follower of the younger lads and whatever that, will say that. And we all know it's a massive step up from youth team football going into football, especially if it's of a championship level. But at the end of the day, we're not going to know until these guys start getting a chance. And I just think that the amount of game time that they've had for this season between them is not really as much as they should have done. And that may be why Neil has, decided to go. His choice, in my opinion. But if you've got to go by that model, you've got to give these guys a go. That's all I would say about it. I'm just questioning when you turn around, George, and say they haven't got the ability or they haven't got the talent. I don't think we know yet because they got the potential. That's without a doubt. Because you look at them at their level, they're all up there.
Right, Ted. Well, I hear what you're saying, but I know they're young and they're inexperienced at the moment. But I think just like Neil had intended to do, he was just bringing them in gradually. 20 minutes here, half hour here. So they play the game, and I think that's how they gain experience, not straight away playing for 90 minutes. And I know you didn't suggest that either, but that's just my thoughts on it. I don't know. What do you got to think, Jeff? What do you think on that?
Well, it's tough bringing in young players when you're in the top half of the championship, aiming to get into the playoffs and get in the big time. Much easier when you're in the third tier, for example. But I haven't got a problem with the calibre of players. It's just that they have been players that have gone along with the chairman and Steve Gallen's stated strategy of signing young players to develop them and, if necessary, to be able to sell them to the big clubs when the time comes. The model that Brentford have operated so very, very successfully. But point I will make about Brentford is that they sign players from overseas and they very frequently don't figure for a year, because they're adjusting to the country, the style of football, the manager's desires. One example I'd give you would be the current goalkeeper, Flecken, the Danish international goalkeeper. I think he's Danish, pretty sure. When he arrived, David Raya was the goalkeeper, who's now at Arsenal, and he never got a kick. But I dare say somebody was saying, "Oh, why did we sign him? We never see him in the team." So it isn't easy. I agree with George. I think Neil knew what he was doing, but if the strategy was to sign these young players, and I've got no quibble with the quality of them. I think they have got potential, and we may see that.
That's the thing.
Give to the chance. He's dying to have a go here, and he go on to have a go.
Well, there's similarities in what you both said in the sense that, but what you said, George, was he didn't have the quality. Now, with the people we're talking about, Ivanovic, 19-year-old Serbian international, been in the international squad. You got Imaku, an Irish international, who's under 21. Kelly, Scottish under 21. So I don't think there's any doubting about their ability in their perspective levels. Although we're talking about Ivanovic being in the international, the senior team, they have got ability. There's no doubt about it. They've got ability. That in bringing these boys in, Ivanovic has come from Serbian football into the Championship. Big difference. You get players come from La Liga 1 going into the Premier League, they still struggle because there's a pace to our game that there's not on the continent. So he will take a bit of time. Kelly was just getting established in himself in the Celtic team, the best team in Scotland. We know the Scottish League's not the best, quality after Scotland and after Celtic and Rangers. We know there's a bit of a struggle after that. But Kelly was in the team up there, so he must have something about him. I agree, but I think with Neil, with what he'd done, which I think didn't go down well with the hierarchy, should we say, is like when he brought Tom Bradshaw back in when Coburn got injured, instead of giving Ivanovic first up and bringing Bradshaw on a sub after Ivanovic had run around for 60 to 70 minutes, trying to establish himself in the Championship, rather than putting Tom Bradshaw out there. And I don't think he even brought Ivanovic on in that particular game. That's where I think the disagreement between James Berylson and I think it's Berylson more than Gallen. Gallen just goes and gets these youngsters. But that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to see these guys getting out there, playing a bit more than they have done. But Neil seemed to prefer to go back to senior players when maybe other people might have said, let's give these youngsters a chance. That's where I think it's gone wrong. Neil, as I've always said, I love him to bits. I really do. As Jeff's already pointed, Millwall through and through, we all know that. But his strength at times is his weakness. He can be a stubborn man. And I think in this situation, and I admire him for it, he's turned around and gone, this ain't for me. I can't work this way. It's best if I go. But that means that Neil has put himself out of a job, not that they've put him out of the job. Maybe you might say with the strategy they have, but Neil's gone, I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it my way, because he's an old school type manager, which I respect very much. So that's what I was saying, George. When you said you didn't think there was quality, I think the quality is there for their age group. Essa, who's the same age as Ivanovic, but he's grown up with English football and he knows what he's had, and he's had a taste of the Championship last year where he was effective at times, but not always. He's a lot more consistent this season and he's putting a lot more better performances, and he's one of the first names on the team sheet, and I fully expect Ivanovic to be like that next year. That's where I'm sort of coming from.
Yeah, I don't... Go on, Jeff. Sorry, you can.
No, I mean, what I think I'm interested to see is what happens now. In the short term, what Dave Livermore's going to do on against Blackburn, and what the new manager's going to do. It'll be a fresh pair of eyes. Everyone gets a new chance. It will be very interesting. But I think the way that Ted summed up the situation will be pretty close to the truth. As I said before, I'm happy with the quality of the young players that's come in, but Neil's idea of how quickly to integrate them into starting 11s, he was used to being the manager and the person that built a club in that way. So, look,
I'll tell you what, Jeff, George, I'll give you this scenario. Dave Livermore comes in. They said they're going to take their time. He beats Blackburn. He beats... can't remember who we got Boxing Day, but he wins Boxing Day.
Norwich away.
Sorry. He wins at Norwich, which would be a first for a long while with Millwall's history. He wins at Norwich. Then he wins at Coventry. And then we beat Oxford. What happens then? Do we still go for a new manager? Because I can't see anything happening before Christmas. But there's a lot of games, as we all know, comes one after the other over Christmas. And I'm not sure that they're fully committed to whoever they want at this moment in time. So what happens if Dave Livermore comes in and really impresses, or the team really impresses, whilst he's in charge?
I think the club will be taking a full, complete overhaul, rather than, even if he does come in and win 5 games on the bounce. I think we're definitely going to get a new head coach and a new coaching team. For me, I can't see any of the current coaching teams staying. Maybe a couple. I don't know. Maybe Adam Barrett. He seems to stay after every new manager. But yeah, for me, I think
that's a pretty much a given, Myles. If the new manager comes in, there's always his own right hand man, and as Livermore came in with Neil Harris. I think that has still happened. But I do think there is some substance in keeping someone in there that knows these players and knows the club inside out.
I think they're a very, very good coaching group. But yes, a new manager almost invariably brings on in his own number 2. But at championship level, it's unusual for them to make more changes than that. It's usually just the number 2. If you can think of an example where there are mass changes, I can't think of one. But I think very, very highly of Livers and Adam Barrett and Andy Marshall, the goalkeeping coach, and Kevin Nugent, the under-21 manager. I'll be sad if there were wholesale changes. A lot will depend on how they have appeared to be willing to go along with the new model. And I think they haven't been managers as much as Neil has, so I think they're going to be willing to give the new model a chance. But if Livers wins on Saturday, there's a good chance he'll still be in place for Boxing Day, but I would imagine that's not in the thinking of the chairman and and Steve Gallen, I think they would have hoped to have made an appointment by now, quite frankly.
Sure.
Hi, Harvey Brown here. I am proud of the Lions Food Hub, which is jointly owned by Kelly and Ellen Webster, and they have been supporting families within our community for over 2 years on Millwall match days. If you would like to donate to them, they have a match day donation hub by the SE16 bar at Colblow Lane, end of the ground, where they accept any food or money and toiletry donations. If you can help, any donations will be received with thanks.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the Lionesses talking team of Ted Robertson, Jeff Burnige and George Lampey. If you can help to support and donate to the Millwall Community Trust Lions Food Hub, then please do. It's a great cause, and you can do that on Saturday by the Blue Bus Bar if you can. Our second guest is from South London. He's supported Millwall man and boy. He and his wife Christine follow Millwall home and away. He's also keen on Irish dancing, and most recently, both Christine and Paul were spotted with Mick McCarthy. He last appeared on our show on Love Sport Radio in 2019. Let's say hello to Paul McSloy.
How you doing, guys?
Evening, Paul.
Evening, Paul. All good?
Yeah, right, thanks, Paul. It's great to have you on the show, mate. First of all, you was brought up and educated not far from the Den. Were Millwall fans in a minority at your school, or were they in a minority at your school, or?
Well, yeah, I was brought up in the 70s in Peckham off the Old Kent Road, and I went to school at St Thomas the Apostle. And if I'll be honest, I only knew one other Millwall fan, and I think maybe in the 70s, when we used to go Millwall in the 70s, I went to my first game when I was maybe 9. I doubt if the crowds were 5,000 or 6,000. So very similar to my brother. And both my brothers were Man United fans, so I think it was more whoever was on the telly, they're the ones they supported. But I was lucky enough to have a next door neighbour who was a huge Millwall fan, a man called Harry Brown. He took me to my first game because my father wasn't interested in football. He was more interested in Gaelic football. That was his thing. So I used to go to the home games with Harry and his son Roy, who was my best friend. And, lucky enough, they showed me the light, if I was to say so. But nobody at my school, apart from one guy, was a Millwall fan. And the school I went to, St Thomas the Apostle, it's the same school that Lionesses went as well, by all accounts. So just maybe like 50 years too late. I don't know whether that had any influence in staying, but.
Paul, it's George here. Hello, mate.
Hi, George.
Yeah, it looks like another season of change at the Den. Of course, with so much going on, we lost our young goalkeeper before the season started. We have 3 top management positions depart. We have a new director of football, a non-football appointment. Neil Harris decides to leave us by mutual agreement. Dave Livermore's taking charge, even though it may only be temporary. We don't know until a permanent coach. What are your personal thoughts about all this that's going on at the Den at the moment?
If you go back to when Neil was reappointed, I was one of those in disagreement with it. I didn't think he was the right appointment. I think especially from his style of football, I thought Neil was quite one-dimensional, but when it worked, it worked. But a lot of times it never worked, and that the type of football he played, if you was a Premiership player, which you was a superb athlete, you might have done it, and you might have sort of got through a season with it. But whenever we played that type of football, maybe under Gray Rare as well, we did really well up until the last 20% of the season, and then we just dropped off. Because the guys were, playing for the second ball was really tough. So when Neil come in, I remember going to the first game against Southampton, and although they battered us, but the heart and soul of that team it really sort of spurred us on. And I ate my words, and I thought we played some good football. I know at the back end of the season we had won 5 or 6 games on the trot, and I felt there was a little bit of a false dawn. I go most of the games, and we were playing okay. We were playing against teams that weren't playing for much, and where we played with a bit of freedom, we was winning games. Start of the season went well. But I think the big change for Neil was what you just said there earlier, is just the change at the top. And I see through a lot of football clubs now, they're not managers, they're head coaches, and they got to coach the players. And the philosophy now is that it's not the manager who buys the players, it's the club that buys the players. And there's the clubs there longer than the managers. Managers have got a shelf life of 2 to 3 years if they're lucky. Gary Rowett was there 4 years. He was actually the longest serving championship manager for 20 years, apart from Mark Robbins. So now Neil's got to manage players that not particularly that he wanted, and I felt at the end of the transfer window when he was venting about losing Jean Fleming so late in the window, which I thought was great business because I didn't think he played particularly well the season before when his head was turned. But then I think just going through it, I could see the signs where I know we were playing okay. We had some good, I thought when we played Leeds and Burnley and Sunderland, we lifted ourselves up to that level. But then we would be back down playing Oxford and the likes, and we dropped back down to their level. We always played against the level. We never kept that consistency, and that was the frustration. And we're back to that. He was playing the one-dimensional football where he's got a squad there. He's got a squad there, which I'm really excited about. When you've got Mihailovic, when you've got Aziz, when you've got Emarku, when you've got Romain Essi, even Langstaff. I really like Langstaff. I really do like Langstaff, and I think he just needs to be. Them players need to be played the right way, and I just felt that Neil now, they're not his players. I think they're not his players. He's taken the team as far as he can. I felt that when they cleared the decks at the start of the season, there were a few of his allies up there, and they cleared the decks. And I feel that since James has taken over John Berylson, there's no emotional attachment to people. He's a businessman, and he can see that he's put a big investment in there now. For him to clear the decks like that, there was a lot of what's going on here? But he's bringing in the different model in. The model is we're bringing in younger, bit raw. We'll play a bit of money for him, and we'll help him develop. They did it with Fleming, and it worked. I'm sure it'll work with Mihailovic. I'm sure it'll work with Aziz. Emarku, just give the man a chance. God, every time he comes on, he just blows people away. He's just such an immense talent. He is a bit raw, but I could see that Neil was. I'm hoping that that Jones is a fan like we are, and we're all screaming out for him to utilise his squad. And I felt that he was not utilising them to say putting two fingers up to people, saying, no, I told you there's something wrong, they're not right. And I remember he put a marker in, the Coventry game, which I actually didn't attend, I was actually away on holiday. And he sort of made a comment about Mihailovic and Emarku not being in the box in the last 5 minutes. And I felt that, hold on, I read them sort of comments and I thought, no, you should be saying that sort of stuff. Privately you should say that, but don't try and hang them out to dry. And I could just see that. I could see the writing on the wall. Although he was unbeaten in 10, he drew a lot of games. We was lucky in quite a few games. I remember going to Swansea and we got torn apart at Swansea. We were a mediocre side, but keep the ball. And all we did, we pumped that ball up. I think Bradshaw was playing that day because I think Coburn was still injured. To a 5'8" striker who's heavily strapped, running around like a headless chicken. And there was just no plan B. I was just there was frustration there. Then lucky enough, we got the win in the 94th minute. And I just think it cleared the issues. I weren't 100%, wholly surprised that he went, but there's a different philosophy now. You coach, you'll have a bit of a say, but we're buying players because, as I said at the start, the players in the club last a lot longer than managers. And, I think Neil's sort of seen that. And the Oxford, I don't know if you guys at the Oxford game, I thought the Oxford game was worse than the Orient game. I thought Orient was bad, but Oxford, we were terrible, Oxford. And we should be having them games. We've had 3 or 4 games a season like that. And, I weren't surprised in the end that Neil, I was away when it happened, do you know what I mean? But I weren't surprised, if I'll be honest. And Dave Livermore in temporary charge, the man with the cap just stands there, his eyes covered. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what he does on Saturday. If he plays the same team as Harris would, if he puts one up front and pumps the ball up to one man up front. This is going to be a tough game on Saturday. Blackburn won 6 on the trot. They're a good side. They've got a lot of players coming. They've been decimated with injuries. Decimated. And over the last 2 weeks, they've had like 4 or 5 of their key players come back. So they're not even at full strength. By Saturday, they'll be at full strength against us. It'd be interesting to see what Livermore does. And I think what he'll do, he'll be another Harris team that comes out. And he won't utilise the squad. He won't utilise the youngsters who have got no fear. Be interested to see.
Paul, it's Jeff Burnige here.
Hi, Jeff.
Evening, Paul. Hi there. Most interested in what you're saying. I know you're not alone in some of the things that you said there. I really disagree with you wholeheartedly, by the way. But there's room for all opinions. I don't think it was the case that we were bashing the ball up to one player up front. I just don't think that was the case at all. But unbeaten in 9 games, it's hard to say that wasn't good. But let's move on.
No,
squad.
I didn't say it wasn't good. But what I would say was, I think there was a little bit of a false dawn there. There was some games there. Sunderland we played really well, but we really played well in the last half hour when he really changed it up and he put a marker on and he really changed the front line there, and we just went after him. And all of a sudden, we went after a young, skillful side, and they were chasing. They were going back. When you put a good young side pushing them back, they were going back to their goal. I think the last half hour we so dominated them. But I just get frustrated that he sees that. Why don't he sort of get that at the start? I didn't see. I see it at the odd time. He didn't. I don't think he mixed it up. I thought we were too predictable. That's how I felt.
No, there's a lot of people think the way you think, but of our current squad, who do you think makes the biggest difference in their performance when he is playing? Of the ones you've mentioned,
the ones I mentioned, obviously Lionesses, but I think the standout player for us is Jaffa Tasanga. I think that's a Premiership player. I haven't seen a better Championship defender across the back line for everything, reading the game, athleticism, and what he does. He not only plays really well for himself, he makes that back line play well. He gives confidence to the back line. The more sort of overlapping runs we've seen Ryan Leonard do this season, who's an outstanding player as well. I think one-on-one right back, I don't think there's many better than him. But he's allowed to develop and perform because you've got Chitanga there. He's got confidence that Chitanga's as fast as him. He pops up with the goals. He just inspires confidence, and him and Romain are the two we need to keep. If we are a progressive club now, which I feel we are. I'm sure there'll be quite a few suitors coming in looking at them to test our resolve.
What about the goalkeeping situation? Obviously, we started the season with a terrible loss of Matija Sarkic.
Yeah. I'm a big supporter of Lucas Jensen. I think he's just grown. The first couple of games of the season. Where we were scoring goals for fun, but conceding goals for fun because we really, we didn't have Jaffet there. That's when he was sort of struggling a bit, and but he's grown and grown. Sartic, same thing. Matias come in, had a few sort of iffy games, but then he grew, and I thought, what a quality player we got here. And I feel Jensen's on the same trajectory. I really do. I really enjoy watching him play. His distribution's good. Shot stopping for a big man, and shot stopping. He made some wonderful saves at the Swansea game. He made some wonderful saves at the Swansea game. So he'll only get better. He'll only get better as long as we keep the core of the team there, that spine of the team. He's part of the spine now. With my feelings with Jensen, with Lucas Jensen, Jaffa Tasanga, Romain Essie, and Casper De Noor, and hopefully. If Josh Coburn gets back, I think is another quality player. That spine, we keep that spine real solid and keep them consistent. He will keep it improving. I think he's done. I think he's done a really good job. He's just getting better and better. At the start where he was letting goals in from corners and he was just very nervous. Coming from Lincoln, we were a good side, but you're really taking a big step up coming to Millwall, and the fans are. We all are. There's every every Millwall game there's 15,000 managers, including the one sitting in the dugout. So they've got a lot to contend with.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Marshall is our goalkeeping coach, and I think he on the face of it, he's doing a very, very good job. He's certainly improved Mattia over that year, and it looks like he's doing an equally good job with Lucas Jensen. But one last thing I've got for you, Paul. I believe you bumped into Mick McCarthy again fairly recently. When did you last see him?
Well, I'm in the construction business. I'm head of construction for a large fit-out company in London. And we're all Irish. We're all Irish descent. And what we do each year, we go to the London Irish Post Awards at the Gravesend Hotel. We have a table there and take clients. And some of our oldest friends there, who are from the Irish dance world. So my daughter is an Irish dance teacher. She runs her own Irish dance school up in Kent. And she was a member of Riverdance for a long time, and Lord of the Dance, etc. And some of her friends who she grew up with there, they were there. They actually run their own construction company, and one of them is married to Mick McCarthy's daughter. So Mick McCarthy and his wife were at the event as well. We were in lucky enough, we was in the VIP green room, and lo and behold, I'm chatting with our friends, and there's Mick McCarthy. So me and my wife went over to him, and he was absolutely fantastic. What an absolute gentleman. We had photos with him, and we stood there for a good 20 minutes just chatting about football. Like I think he said he's had over 1,000 games as a manager now. He doesn't want to come back into management. He's just telling a few stories about his life, and it was really enjoyable. Yeah, he's a very decent guy. Very decent guy. Come across really well. Very genuine. And once we had photographs, then people were looking around. Oh, and then all of a sudden, it's sort of others come to him. But yeah, he's a very nice guy. Yeah, he enjoyed his time at Millwall. So he said.
Yeah, so he said. Hello, Paul. It's Ted here. All right, mate.
All right, mate. You all right?
Yeah, not bad. I've got no Irish in me, but I've been told I do the river dances sometimes. Normally after my 10th pint, they tell me. But, probably not as good as your daughter, I wouldn't have thought, mate. But,
maybe now she's in the late 30s now, so you might have a bit of a chance there, Ted.
But we've got the transfer window coming up in January, Paul. There's a lot of speculation about Romain Esse leaving for the Premiership. I, for one, don't think he will go. I don't think the timing's right, but I think he'll definitely be with us till the end of the season. But if he did go, we'd need to replace him, obviously, by bringing in someone else. Is there anybody that you feel at this moment in time that we could go and get? Because I don't doubt Mr. Gallen's probably got his eyes on someone, and knowing that our strategy is to buy young and get in, is there anybody that takes your fancy anywhere else to come in and make this team even better?
Do you know what? We don't concede, and I'm more than happy with the back line. I'm hoping that our left back, the guy from Liverpool, that he looks quality, because I think Joe Bryan he's got too many mistakes in him, and it will cost us. So if we left back, I feel if we get that resolved, I'm more than happy with the back line. Even when Sean Hutchinson come on with his first game back there, I think I thought he played. Although it was a mistake, he had the mistake for the goal. But I thought generally he played well. And I think if we get a game every 2 weeks out of Sean, I'll be happy with that. But it's just somebody up. We just need to be a bit more creative. Somebody up front. When Coburn plays, we're a different side. But he's fragile. He seems to be fragile. He's playing a lot of championship games, and if we could replace him or have someone him, because I don't think Mihailovic is a target man. I just feel that Mihal's not that. I think he's more of a poacher. I really do. But
here's a question for you then, Paul. Since Neil's been in charge, we've had a set way of playing. We play the same sort of formation week in, week out. With the players that we've got and the talent that I believe that there is around the squad, would you change that formation?
I would. I watch the under-20s, and when Romain Esse plays in that false 10, he's always been the man of the match. And you put him out. He's always got a few mistakes in him, but he's young, but he's raw, and I feel we just need to put him in a more creative role. Put the ball through him. He's strong. He holds the ball up. and get players feeding off him. I really do. It's one thing pumping that ball up, but I've seen in games where Coburn's come short, and and he's left 2 or 3 defenders sitting there waiting for the long ball, and he's just come short. And get that, he turns very quick. I can see that happening, but it'd be interesting to see what Dave Livermore does if he goes that long ball. And I just think we just need to keep on playing.
Paul, I 100% agree with Rivese. I've seen him myself in there, and I believe there's a 10 all day long, because his strength is the ball at his feet. He's not quick, but he's turned and he's got a few tricks, and I think you get now he's learned the defensive side of the game. In other words, he will put an effort in to get back. I think he'd be ideal in that position. So I'm with you.
Exactly, he's a he is a grafter. That boy grafts, and you listen and talk. He's 19 years old. He seems mature beyond his years. He's on a long-term contract, so he's buying into it. He gets that ball and he's strong. He holds people off. He's broad. He's so broad. He just holds them off. He does that little trick. He turns quick. He will receive the ball with his back to goal and turn as quick as you can. He turns so quick. I think we just don't utilise him. We push him out. He puts the tackle in. He's not scared to put a tackle in. He's very rarely injured. I know he's just picked up a little injury, and he's but he's a strong guy. And I just don't think we utilise him enough. Marku and Aziz, I'm really excited about them too. Denor, excited. We was at the Swansea game. We was on the train with Casper Denor coming home, and having a good chat with him. And he just I think 24, 25, very level-headed, and I'd just like to see him. I don't know. George Saville is good. I actually sit in away games with George Saville's dad most of the time. We're always sort of talking about the game and all this sort of stuff. And I always say to his dad, "Has he still got the legs? Has he still got the legs? He's got the legs for every game." It's whether that needs to be mixed up a bit. But we've got so many. Look, we won the cups, and like the junior version of the FA Cups and the under-18s and under-21s. We must have some good talent there. People getting. They're plucking our players out. One went to Brentford there. I'm sure we've got some talent there. That why don't we see them? Why don't we see them like in a cup game? Instead of Bradshaw. No disrespect to Bradshaw. He's been there. He's been a great servant, but he can't be playing for us anymore. Put one of the youngsters on. They'd be a lot better. Why put Bradshaw on when you've got Langstaff, who I think is a younger version of Bradshaw? So that's why I feel Neil was a little bit predictable in what he was doing.
Paul, thank you very much for coming on to us and giving your opinions. First of all, though, before you leave, 1 minute. We have got a prediction league called Ted's Prediction League, and Ted here to ask you the scores.
Right. Oh, back to me again, is it? Oh, right. So, all right, Paul. Well, I've had to pick 3 games out. I could do every week, and the 3 I've selected this week. The first one up is obviously our beloved Lions, Millwall, to Blackburn. How do you see that one going, Paul? I'll tell you what, before you answer, I'll give you a little run up to it. We haven't won in 3 and haven't scored a goal. Blackburn Blackburn won their last 5, I think, or 6 in it. Yeah,
they have. And as I said at the start, they've got they've been decimated with injuries, and in the last 2 weeks, a lot of their players coming back, and what they're on their. I was reading some stuff on Blackburn. They'll be at full strength for the first time in 8 games on Saturday. I was like, right, I think we'll win. I really do. I think there'll be a bit of a bounce back. I hope Livermore is brave. We don't concede. We are stingy. If Hutchinson's back and Tatanga's back in there, you've got Leonard back in there. I'm more than comfortable with them. Whether or not the left, I think Danny McNamara should go back to left back. I'm not a fan of Joe Bryan. He just switches off too many times for me. And I think a 1-0 win to Millwall.
Paul, I've got to say it now, you are a true Millwall fan, because that is what any Millwall fan would say with them statistics that were given to you. There's only one result, a Millwall win. I totally agree. The next one I've picked out, Paul, what do you reckon on this one? A tricky one, I think. Luton, who I've been really disappointed with this year, to be quite honest. I think they're a far better side than, or they should be a far better side than what they've been showing this year. And they're at home to Derby, who had a 4-0 win, I think, last week. I think it was at home to Portsmouth. So how do you see that one going, Paul?
I don't think Derby have got a great away record, though, have they? I don't think they've got a particularly good. I just see a draw written all over it. I just see a draw written all over them. Luton, although they beat us, I wasn't impressed with them. I thought we were very unlucky. I think they've had, they've got too many players who win the Premiership, and they're still picking up sort of decent money, and they mostly feel the Championships beneath them, and they've been caught out a bit. I feel they've been caught out a bit, but I think a 1-1 draw there. They're not. I know they scored. 1-1 draw there. Yeah.
Well, I'm not too far away with you with that one. Although I just think Luton will win a game somewhere, and Derby are poor away. You're right about that. But the last one, and this one's a little bit of a puzzle to me as well, because I'm surprised how well Sunderland are doing. And I'm equally surprised how poorly Norwich are doing. So, but yet Sunderland at home to Norwich. Well, where do you see that one?
Oh, I think Sunderland will tear Norwich a new one. I really do. I've been watching sort of the highlight. I really like Sunderland. At the first half against us, I was like, wow. And they were missing 3 or 4 players against us, like Sir Roberts and Bellingham. They've got some real good talent there. Although in the second half we put it on them, and they definitely wilted. But Norwich are just not. I think Norwich are just slightly below us. I think they're sort of
they're not where they should be. I don't think.
No, they're definitely not. And I can see a 3-0 Sunderland win there. I really can. I think Norwich had a bad loss there at the weekend as well.
I can't disagree with any of that. Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
All right, mate, no problem.
Paul, thank you very much, and thanks for coming on. So we appreciate you. We really appreciate you coming on, but we won't leave it for another 5 years this time.
Was it 5 years? Wow.
Yeah.
5 years. I need those. Yeah, maybe I was a little bit too controversial for you 5 years ago, Myles, and I need to tone it down a bit. I feel. But
we like people that disagree with Jeff Burnige on this show, anyway.
It wasn't a great big disagreement. No, Paul, it's been great. Thank you. Thanks very much for your contribution, your thoughts. There's quite a lot of things you said that I agree with. So
thanks, Jeff. I thought it was you wholeheartedly disagreed with everything.
Oh, I'm going to make you disappointed.
No.
I'll make you disappointed.
What I found interesting was that. Yeah, well,
you want to get off the phone, Paul?
Oh yeah. My ears will be burning.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you, mate.
Paul. We'll talk next time.
All right, no problem.
All the best to you, Christine, and your family. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for coming on.
Right, I'll see. I hope you see you at Blackburn on Saturday. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks very much to Paul for coming on. We'll take a quick break there and hear from Bethany Mantelow, who talks about how you can help and support and donate to the Millwall Community Trust.
The Millwall Community Trust is something that I, Bethany Mantelow, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985 to provide sporting, educational, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. Donating to the Millwall Community Trust is easy. Visit their website and click on the Get Involved section. There are also sponsorship opportunities. To support this work, email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That's commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. If you can, please help them to continue their vital work.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the Lionesses talking team of Ted Robertson, Jeff Burnige and George Lampey. If you can donate, you will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all of their programmes across all age groups to people within our community. So now then, let's hear from Ellis Barr. Keep us updated, Ellis.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Well, we've now got reports from Paul Loading for the Millwall Romans and Andy Dolan for the Millwall Pride.
Hi, it's Paul Loading at the Millwall Romans with a quick update for the week. Romans finished the year at home to Stokey FC. Stokey challengers for the league last year. Not too sure what sort of team they were going to bring. They don't seem to have had the results go their way this season. We were missing a couple of players ourselves. Ale Thompson, Will Palmer, Nick Duffy and James Baker all out last week. We did, however, in true style, manage to play quite well. Knocked the ball around nice. A couple of attacks from Stokey, but nothing too challenging for us. And managed to finish the game 5-0. Great run of play that we've had so far in the season. So far, touch wood, no slip-ups. And we look forward to going into 2025. Big couple of games coming up in February with Liverpool in the semi-final of the GFSN Cup being played on the weekend of the 8th and 9th of February, and then 2 weeks after that it will be the LUL quarterfinals against Charlton. We seem to always get drawn against Charlton, but we are looking good this season, so hopefully we're looking to do the treble. Predictions this week, I'm going to say that Millwall are going to go 2-0 against Blackburn. I reckon Luton Derby is going to be a 1-1 draw, and Sunderland Norwich, I reckon Sunderland might just nick that 1-0.
Well, we lost the game 1-0. The goal was a controversial penalty decision, so the ref about 30 seconds to decide it was a penalty. And we had 3 contentious penalty claims in reverse, all of which were waved away. So controversial one. So yes, I can't speak. If I speak, I am in trouble.
And just finally, I just want to wish everyone from the Romans a very, very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year.
Thanks very much, Paul. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you at the Millwall Romans and the Pride. Well, the Lionesses returned to league action in Northolt on Sunday, and I reported on the match for Maritime Radio.
The Millwall Lionesses were in action at the weekend, winning 3-0 away from home against Sport London Benfica Ladies on Sunday. Our All Things Millwall reporter Myles Thornton was there to report on the action.
Millwall Lionesses finished off 2024 with a bang as they beat Sport London Benfica 3-0 at Rectory Park in West London. Forward, Chloe Francis had to go in goal, with neither of Anis Clara Wright and Evie Thorne Ford available for the game. Midfield trio Victoria Lasambo, Florrie Winfield and Alice Wood all scored a goal each to secure the Lionesses' 6th win under Ted Jones and Jack Wilson's leadership. It took 39 minutes for the deadlock to be broken. Mia Lockett passed it through to Victoria Lasambo, who netted her first goal for the club. It was 2-0 before the break though, as on 43 minutes Florrie Winfield got on the end of a Clara Watling pass and netted to double the Lionesses' lead. At half-time, Ted Jones made 2 substitutions. Lucy Jellett and Amel Hussain came on to replace goalscorer Victoria Lasambo and Elise Jennings. 3 minutes before the hour mark, Alice Wood struck the ball magnificently to make it 3. Ted Jones brought on even more fresh legs through Maisie Joyce and Elliot McGregor, who replaced Esme Johnson and Florrie Winfield on 62 minutes. Millie Connell was the final sub of the game, with 20 minutes to go. She replaced Kira Watling to make only her second appearance in 380 days after returning from an ACL injury. With no action late on, the Lionesses picked up their 5th league win of the season. The Lionesses will now observe a winter break and be back to action on the 5th of January to face Herne Bay FC at St Paul Sports Ground. Kick-off of 1:30. Well, here is the full roundup of results from the Millwall Community Trust. Millwall Romans, as you just heard, beat Stokey FC 5-0 on Sunday, and the Millwall Pride were defeated 1-0 by Barnes Stormers. The Millwall Lionesses beat Sport London Benfica 3-0 on Sunday. The Millwall Lionesses under-18s game was postponed. The Lionesses under-16s beat Welling United 6-0. Lionesses under-14s won 4-1 against Heartland FC, and the Millwall Lionesses under-12s lost 3-2 to the NPL Youth FC. Next up for the first team is a visit of Blackburn Rovers to the Den this Saturday. Rovers boss John Eustace admits he's delighted by the progress shown by his side so far in 2024-25 season, following a 6th successive win, as mentioned by Paul earlier on, in the Championship. Rovers are the form team in the second tier right now after disposing of Cardiff City, Middlesbrough, Leeds, Hull City and Sheffield Wednesday, and last Saturday recently relegated Luton Town, picking up a maximum points from the last 18 available. It's shown that Rovers' ability in front of goal, but what has just been as pleasing for Eustace has been the rock-solid defence qualities on show too. The shutout in the 2-0 win against Rob Edwards' Hatters at Ewood Park was Rovers' 5th successive clean sheet, with the last goal conceded coming back on the 9th of November at the Cardiff City Stadium. He said it shows we're making progress and have an excellent team spirit. If you believe betting odds have meeting for the weekend, a Millwall win is 6-5, a draw is 21-10, and a Rovers win is 6-4. Some tight odds there. What do we reckon, team? And don't forget, you can't make the same prediction as each other. Ted, over to you.
Well, I've already made my predictions. If people want to know it, I'll let them know in 1 minute because I've forgotten at this moment in time. But no, I did Millwall to beat Blackburn 2-1. I've had Luton to beat Derby 2-0. And I've had Sunderland and Norwich as a 1-1 draw. But what do you reckon, Jeff? Let's start with Millwall Blackburn.
Ted, you're a very, very good judge because you agree with me.
I'm good.
I think the Millwall Blackburn's going to be a high quality game. That's my feeling. I think your 1 of 2-1 is what I would have gone for. That's a really tricky one to go against you there. I think, if anything, that's going to be a 2-2 draw. But I do fancy us to win 2-1.
Well, next one, Jeff, I'm glad that we agree on something, but Luton versus Derby.
For me, that's a Luton win. I know Derby had a great win last week, but they haven't got a good away record, as I think's been said. I'm going for Luton there. I think I'll go for 1-0.
1-0, and last but not least, a very intriguing game to me, up there at the top, Sunderland with Norwich.
Sunderland to win at home. I'll go 2-0.
2-0, right. Well, that's fine with me, Jeff. But over to someone who never agrees with me. Even if I was right, he wouldn't agree with me, that's for sure. And that's young George.
How true is that, Ted? How true is that?
George, you won't like going last because you've got to follow on from me and Ted and not repeat our predictions.
Yes, but seeing as you two don't know nothing about football, it won't be very difficult, will it? Right, well, I'm going to be a little bit confident with Millwall this week. And now, listening to what Myles has said about Blackburn, I'm wilting as I listen to it. But I'm going to go 3-1 to the Lions.
3-1. What about Luton Derby, George?
Now I'm going to go the other way here because I did watch Derby play the other week. I know Luton are not a bad team. But I'm going to go 0-1 to Derby, to the Rams. I've got a big mate who's a Rams supporter. He's going to be very happy about it. Yeah. Sunderland, Norwich. I'm very much in Sunderland's camp here. So can I go the same as Paul had, 3-0 to Sunderland?
If you want. If you want, George, but
yeah, I shall go 3-0
about football as usual. But
okay, no, hold it. I just changed that. Seeing you just said I know all about football, I shall go 3-1 to Sunderland. 3-1 to Sunderland.
Right, 3-1. Right, okay, Myles, over to you.
I'm going to go for Millwall Blackburn. I'll go 3-0 Millwall. For Luton Derby, I'll go 3-0 Derby, and for Sunderland versus Norwich, I'll go 2-2.
You've been listening to George too much, I think, Myles. But go on, you never know.
I'm training him up. I'm training him up.
There's a far better job out there for you, Myles. Leave it. I'd just like to say, but just quickly, John Eustace was my manager's choice before Gary Rowett, but a long time ago now. But I do think he's a job, isn't he? Yeah, I think he's a very good manager. Very good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, we've also got predictions from Nick Wyeth of the Millwall Facebook Sicily site, and Nick. Let's hear what Nick predicts.
Hi guys, this is Nick Wyeth. My predictions are Millwall 2, Blackburn 0, hopefully back to winning ways. Luton 1, Derby 1, and Sunderland 2, Norwich 0. Thank you.
Thanks as ever, Nick, and I keep reminding Ted to keep his wallet out.
It's not New York, it's New Cross. Someone's written that wrong down on the script. I keep telling him.
We're going to New York. Oh, blimey.
For anyone who hasn't listened to previous shows, it wasn't mentioned on there. Nick would like to go, if he wins, would like Ted to take him to the new Manzies in New York. We've all got ambitions, haven't we? Well, that's that. And as always, it's fun with the added handicap of not being able to make the exact prediction as each other. Now we'll have Phil Coleman's Tales from the Boot Room with tales from his Christmas past as a Millwall player.
Hello everyone, Phil Coleman here again with a few tales from my locker room. As we approach Christmas, I thought I'd share a few memories of life as a player over Christmas back in my time. In my 13 years as a full-time professional footballer, I think I had about 2 Christmas days off. It was normally down to the managers. Some were utterly professional and that day makes all the difference and it must be done sort of attitude for Christmas Day. Some managers, not many, were more trusting and lenient, so you got a nice Christmas Day, laying presents and your Christmas dinner with the family. But normally, over those years, we'd get up, train at 10 o'clock. It'll be a good hour and a half. We prepare for the game, look at the opposition, go through our set pieces, and we'll be off home by 12 o'clock for Christmas dinner. And then obviously we play on Boxing Day, normally 3 o'clock, but there were a few incidents where it kicked off earlier. And there's a couple of Christmases really do stick out. One, I was at Colchester United and we travelled on New Year's Day all the way down to Torquay, about 5 hours on a bone-shaking coach. We got to a hotel at 1 o'clock, had the pre-match meal. The game was on despite the heavy rain, and we got to the ground at 2 o'clock and they called it off, so we just turned around and came back. Another one that stands out for me, playing for Millwall, was Wimbledon. They brought the kick-off forward to about 11 o'clock on Boxing Day. So George Lampey looked at the weather forecast and it was a bit dicky. Some ice and snow was forecast. So he decided that we would train at 4 o'clock on Christmas Day. So we had our Christmas dinner, trained at the old den at 4 o'clock, and we all jumped in our cars and carted off us up to a hotel in Park Lane. So I was rooming with Tony Kinsella. And I remember Tony put the towel on top of the lamp to dry it out and set fire to it, and the windows were open, trying to get rid of the smoke before the fire alarms went off. Anyway, we watched the film, got our head down, woke up the next morning, and the coach took us to Wimbledon. We arrived there at 10 o'clock, and the game was called off, frozen pitch. That was only a bit of the story, because that Christmas evening I looked at it and thought, well, there's nothing on Christmas evenings, most people don't do much, so I thought I'd have my engagement party. Unfortunately, I was in a hotel room with Tony Kinsella and I phoned up my own engagement party to say I hope everyone's having a good time at my party. But I think that was the winter season of about 1980. Another one that stands out was a game we played on New Year's Day in 1987, 1st of January, Brighton away. Michael Marks scored after about 10 minutes, and I think the rest of the game we were just defending. It was like the Alamo, they just kept coming at us, and about 3 of us got stitches. I had a couple of stitches put in over my eye, got butted by Mr. Cooper playing for Brighton, and playing beside my brother and the guys. It was a right rearguard performance. Such was the state of our defending that Nick's wife said to us after the game, the half you were defending was brown and the half you were attacking was green grass, and we just never got out of our half. But we got the 1-0 win, and that game over that Christmas period stands out. Anyway, enough from me. I want to wish you all the listeners a very great, happy Christmas. Have a great new year. Here's to lots of points for the Lions. And a final thought over this period, thinking of those less fortunate than ourselves. Happy Christmas, everybody. Catch up in the new year.
Thank you very much for that, as always, Phil. We will hear from Debbie Julians now before we take a break.
Debbie Julians here. To all our listeners, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will be back on the 10th of January. Have a good one.
Let's hear from Dave Hart now.
Hello, Dave here. I'd like to thank all of our listeners for their support over the past year and wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thanks for that as well, Dave. The same goes for you and yours. We'll take a break and listen to Ellie talk to Eamon about Harvey's Den Cafe.
Hi Ellie, lovely to see you here up in Harvey's Den again. And of course you've taken over from the Brown family. Cafe that they have here is just wonderful. Millwall shirts on the chairs, blue and white tablecloths, blue chairs, and all you guys in Millwall kit.
Of course.
Tell me, what goes on? When are you here? What can we expect?
We're here Monday to Friday from 10:30 till 5 every day, open to the public. Everyone's welcome. We're open every match day from 11:30 till 2:30. We've got a new family, a new little CAF team, and the girls up here are all lovely and friendly.
So who are the girls that are up here?
We've got myself, Ellie, of course, and then we've got Nicole, who works during the week. We've got Michelle, who also works during the week. She's lovely. And Lena, who works on a match day. And my mum, Ellen, who's very well known.
Very well known.
She also helps out in here from time to time. So we've got a lovely little family team.
To look after the community. Exactly. Wonderful stuff. So what's on offer at the cafe these days?
We've got everything from chicken burgers to paninis to full breakfasts, tea, coffee, hot chocolate, soft drinks, snacks, everything you could need.
So it's all here, all available, a great team to serve it up to you. Well, what else can I say but carry on in Harvey's style here at Harvey's Den Cafe. And all the best to you, Ellie, and your team. And I look forward to coming up and enjoying some of the fare in not the far distant future. Well, in fact, I've already done that. The coffee is just superb. Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks, Eamon.
Thanks to Eamon and Ellie for that little feature. Open Monday to Friday and on match days. Enjoy the great food at Harvey's Den Cafe. Served with a smile on the first floor of the Mill Community Trust Lions Centre on Bleeder Road. We're all looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and those interested in football.
The Millwall Community Trust has facilities to hire at the Lions Centre, our main office adjacent to the Den, and St Paul's Sports Ground in Rotherhithe. The Lions Centre has a sports or an art AstroTurf surface, both available for hire and sports or recreation activities or family events. St Paul's Sports Ground is open to anyone seeking a state-of-the-art football venue in a safe and positive environment. For booking inquiries, please get in touch with the Millwall Community Trust on 020 7740 0503. Happy Christmas, everybody. There you go.
Eamon will present our next show, which will be broadcast on Friday, January the 10th. Yes, we get a mid-season break. Bethany, Ted and Myles will be the panel that day and joining Eamon. And don't forget to tune in. Additionally, our monthly show will return live on Maritime Radio on Saturday evenings, commencing January the 28th at 8 p.m. Watch out on social media and this show for further details. Merry Christmas.
Millwall Lionesses are on a winter break, as Myles reported a bit earlier. They exist in the women's game. They will return to action in the London and South East Region League Cup quarter-final on Sunday, the 5th of January, when they face what will be next year my hometown team, Herne Bay Women, at St Paul's Sports Ground, Rotherhithe, with a 1:30 p.m. kick-off. Why not get down there and roar the Lionesses to the League Cup semi-finals? And it's a Merry Christmas to one and all, or a Merry Millwall Christmas, I should say.
You nicked my last line. I was going to use that, Ted.
Sorry. Did you include me in that, Ted?
Hey?
You include me in that, did you?
No, I said to the listeners. You're not a listener. You're an old fart.
I'll have to cut that out, Ted.
Don't cut that out. I know you read it.
Don't forget you'll be able to listen to the Lionesses talking team, bring reports from our games both home and away for the Lions, Lionesses, Romans and Pride, and also updates on Millwall community matters on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM across South London and North West Kent. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, SoundCloud, and all other popular podcast sites. Thanks and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you, yours. George, thank you, mate.
Happy Christmas to you, Myles.
Merry Christmas, George. Jeff, thank you very much and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Merry Christmas, Myles. Let's hope for a good one, results-wise.
And Ted, Merry Christmas to you and yours, mate.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Myles and Jeff.
What about me, Ted? What about me?
And the bridge was at the beginning of this part of this show.
And thank you.
Myles, play the music.
Thank you to all of our listeners. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and yours.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.